Checking.
Oh, so it must not be logged into the, like the credentials for the computer is what that was. There, now, all right. Thank you, Chris. So when it says, Parsonsfield Planning Board approved our site plan review application on September 2020, was that for the millworks for the mill property or for
Yeah.
Stanley? Okay.
No,
And then on this, so I'm assuming then that was the same on May 2021? Also for the mill property?
no, our original one was, I think 20, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Subsequent to that, I don't, if that's a, maybe he's referring to a renewal.
Okay. But this is the first application for the Stanley building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So any of those approvals would have been for that property?
yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Got it.
But I think he's probably applying, without speaking for him. My brother's point was that we got repeated approvals from Saco River Corridor and also the town for using the holding tanks at the mill on a temporary basis.
Right. No, and I was just making sure that Stanley building hasn't come and gotten approved prior to us. Okay.
That's the first one. Probably in its life.
Probably not wrong.
But it says down here, this makes a total of 6 permit approvals across both the mill complex and Stanley property combined.
Yeah.
Is that referring to the Saco River Corridor Commission?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my concern is that you had had a previous approval for this property and
Oh, no.
that we were.
Yeah, sorry for.
No, that's fine.
That small?
I just can't see past this paper.
Oh, gee.
Okay.
That confuses me. we said.
It does,
Huh?
it does confuse me.
They have the interest for it, but it's going up for public auction. That's confusing.
That is. Lawyer for Al,
Yeah,
he screwed up the first, after, since the.
right, this one, then they put this one in
Yeah,
afterwards.
I haven't had it, but I used to hear this beforehand
Yeah.
from the lawyers that. So he has to repost it and change the date now to
Yeah.
November 20th.
Because both say that it's going up for public auction.
Yeah,
So it was a calculation on the lawyer's part that, well, the lawyer for the mortgage company could go through with litigation and charge the previous owner with fraud and other things. Or just go after the absolute certainty in the situation. Instead of wasting time and money going after and letting it go through the courts as far as contesting the deed in lieu that he did sign, and stating with an affidavit, he's of sound mind and he is not coerced and this and that. He signs that, and then he turns around and says, no, I wasn't well. And I'm contesting what I just signed. So instead of going that route, mortgage companies just going for the judicial foreclosure. Just to get him.
just going through the motions, but
Going through the legal motions by the state. Which you read the fine print down there with the mortgage holder.
Do they have to, does the court have to finalize that judgment before the auction happens?
No.
It would go through the processes of a public auction. And
Okay.
I mean, say if somebody was to bid $1 million or 1.1, that might change the dynamics of our position. Or the mortgage holder's position. The mortgage holder is just hoping that, not having to go through a judicial foreclosure.
Oh, I thought you just said they were going to go through that.
They are going to, but he was hoping that initially he was trying to play nice guy.
I guess my point is, how can they put it up for auction and sell it before it's foreclosed on?
That's part of the procedure is the auction.
Oh, during that auction
The sale is.
on it
Yeah.
before, but you'd have to have the judge rule on that, right?
No, the sale is the end of the foreclosure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once the foreclosure happens, if there's any deficiency, then that's where the judgment comes into play.
Okay.
Yeah.
well, that cleared it up.
So say he owes 1.2, they sell it for $1 million, you can put a judgment for 200,000 for the remaining, whatever they're not able to collect.
Gotcha.
Less fees and a bunch of other stuff that knocks it down, but
Yeah. Explain.
So you just did have this drawn up recently?
Yes.
Okay. Guessing today.
I saw it.
I think more than anything that parking drawing, it just illustrates parking above and beyond what the Stanley Building would need. Whatever the Stanley Building needs at maximum occupancy that we would give the Stanley Building rights to that parking within our control.
One of my just general concerns again, and I'm going back on the record of saying that I support your project and I hope to see it go through. I hate seeing empty buildings and I think we need more businesses. but I keep asking you guys the same question about what your plans are, and you keep telling me you're not putting restaurants in. Which I don't care if you do or not. I don't care what you do with the building. And actually, Chris, last time you told me specifically you were not doing that.
I won't be
Still,
operating a restaurant.
still on the first page of the application, and it's on this drawing you
We
gave me
definitely
today.
like that capability, for sure.
Okay, I'm getting different messages from you guys, so that's my main concern is I feel like you're giving me different messages each time you come here.
No problem with that.
So we want to make sure that when we move forward, everybody is clear on that.
It's labeled as a restaurant right here.
There's 2 restaurants listed there
Yep.
Two restaurants listed, yeah.
In the Stanley building?
on your parking map
For the 2 suites.
for the 2 suites,
Yeah.
which gives me cause to concern that you guys aren't being straightforward about what you're doing, to be honest with you. I'm not saying I'm not supporting it. I'm not saying I wouldn't vote to approve it, but it raises alarm that when we ask you a direct question and you answer it, you give me something different that contradicts what you just told me.
We want the ability to lease the building for whatever use meets the code. And that meets the use, and we're trying to achieve that. So that's why the septic is here, the adequate parking is here, and we want the ability to lease the building for any use that we see fit that meets all applicable code. So we definitely want the option to,
So different than what you told me at the last meeting.
what did I tell you at the last
That
meeting?
you had no plans to put in food and beverage there. Because that was one of the things we brought up about parking employees.
I mean,
was
you weren't at the
this-
sidewalk, but I forget your name, I'm sorry, but.
No, but I'm talking, Chris, I'm talking about the last
Oh,
meeting.
We did speak about
Yeah.
bar and restaurants and
Yeah,
whatnot, so
yeah,
if you.
at the sidewalk.
I have no problem with a restaurant going there. My problem is that I've asked the question and you told me no.
I don't operate restaurants, so I'm not putting.
That's not what I
I'm
said.
not putting Chris's restaurant in there, but we do want the ability
Because that means more use like
to a restaurant.
waste removal. There's a lot more that goes into your septic design when you start food and beverage.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's a big difference.
Yeah, which is why I asked the question. I mean, again, I think we need more businesses, but I was answered no.
Uh,
And then I read you the first page because that's why I'm saying at the last meeting, not the sidewalk. I read you the first page of the sidewalk, the application you guys put in and it said food and beverage and you said there will be no food and beverage. That was what you responded to me about.
Chris would be the authority on actually what goes in, so that whatever I may have,
I think it's a great spot for restaurants as long as you're considering in the future. What I don't want is us to give you an approval to do something and then have somebody come in and want to put a brewery or a restaurant in there and then they turn around and sue us because we said, no, that can't go there because it's,
yeah.
I understand your
Yeah,
apprehension. The health, you're familiar, the health board would have to approve the septic for it to get,
we got a lot of approval, yeah.
you know what I mean?
And I mean, I understand that this could be, with the planning board's approval, a restaurant. It could be a lot of things. We went through all of that stuff. Which we want you to do that. We want that development. I just want to make sure we know what we're
Yeah.
heading you with.
I have a question though. In regards to, like say Chris has mentioned that he'd like to have the option. Say if a bar went in, I believe it's state law that you have to provide some kind of food.
You have to provide a full meal.
What's that?
You have to provide a full meal. What equates as a full meal?
To have that option.
There's no more Class X lounges in the state of Maine like there used to be. You used to be able to get a Class X lounge license, which lets you serve very limited food based on a percentage of sales versus liquor and food. Those that were done away with a few years ago. So you have to serve a full menu.
Well, then that requires us to apply for
Yeah, so
that's fine.
I just am bringing it up because I want you to keep that in mind as you're
Yeah,
developing
I
your
don't
septic.
appreciate
'Cause
being accused of not being transparent though.
But you're, understand why I'm asking, because I asked you the question and you answered the question to
All
me.
uses are on the application, if you look at.
Right, and that's why I was bringing it up, because I was concerned about like your development of your septic system and your grease traps and so on. So I did ask you last time at the meeting, I said, it says right here on the first page.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be argumentative.
we're not that far.
Okay, and you said no, because again, you said you were coming to us because you want to make sure you invest your money properly. So we don't give you an approval for things you can't get approved for later. So it's more is my concern for the town. I would love to see a restaurant go in there. It's a perfect spot for it. But are you planning on that in your development of where your septic is, your grease is going to be taken care of?
What, I'm still kind of on the application, does it say
The
restaurant?
site application says food and beverage on the first page.
Yeah, and.
So that's why I asked, and that's why you said
I
no.
think that
You
possibly.
asked if I planned on operating a restaurant there, and I told you.
Oh, so we're gonna split hairs.
And that seems to be what we're doing.
No, it's not at all. It's not a personal attack on you, Chris. I was just asking what you guys were doing with the spot. Because we were trying to figure out what you needed from so on, because you don't want to keep coming back to us. And then you said no. That's my concern.
Okay.
Well, and maybe it could have been on my part or my brother's part, or Chris, whatever. Spread the blame around, if you like.
I'm not blaming either of you. I'm just saying I asked a question.
As far,
That's
yeah,
all.
no, as far as, my impression was we didn't want the food and beverage as part of the application, so that's on there. Understanding that you had to have some offering of food if you were gonna have a bar,
Right.
okay? And so you've clarified the law now where you can't just serve popcorn, say.
Correct.
Or chips. Gotcha. Thank you for that. And so that would answer the question on this application that, yeah, okay, then call it a restaurant. And we'll have ample parking and septic capability provided for that property through the mill.
Are you guys gonna sprinkle the building? Just so I'm curious. Are you gonna put sprinklers in? Sprinkler system?
That would be, something that would be decided on, by Chris and his management of the building. So if there's an area where you must put it in,
I just believe I'm pretty sure, and again, I'm just offering information to you,
No, please
not
do,
looking to
please
be
do,
argumentative.
because we're open.
I'm pretty sure that if you have residential over any cooking establishment, it requires sprinklers, even if it's grandfathered.
I've run across that also.
Yep.
So that's a possibility.
So from an application standpoint, you're gonna be subletting these three, just concerning the three, the upstairs residential, obviously, that kind of, right, you're gonna be subletting the entire building. But your intention is to have three separate retail spaces where, well, true, yeah, where you,
It's important to keep that in mind, that
Right.
it has a lot of options.
as you currently have it out, it's three, you have three suites. And so you'll have the three suites, you could occupy two and operate as one business. But you have the three suites that have currently no specific direction in terms of what kind of business will be there. But obviously that's dependent on who's ever willing to rent the space. Right?
Which is what would help with the calculation of septic or parking, so.
Right.
Really, we're just trying to get past the point of the building being considered dry storage to move on to is business viable here, then obviously you need to have compliant septic and parking for whatever businesses shall occupy.
Right. So for our purposes, and board, keep me honest here, but I think what we need to do is consider those three spaces as retail. And then anyone that moves into those that would need to then come before the board to apply to bring that business into town, as any other business does. And then at that point, we would have to adjust parking.
The business doesn't need to apply to come to town. They need to apply to change use of a building. Does that make sense? So if it's already light commercial down there, any light commercial use is technically applicable. However, the building is defective, if you will, as is, so it can't be considered to be a habitable structure without power, septic, parking, all of the above, so that's what we're trying to overtake, I guess. But as far as a business coming to town and needing to come before you to occupy a building, that's not the case. There is no Parsonsfield business license to the best of my knowledge, nor is there a occupancy permit that I know of, aside from building a structure and having it properly to code. Correct me if I'm wrong with that, but
No, and I think what I'm thinking of is what you're talking about is the change of use.
because retail is not applicable either, we're not gonna have, that's failed time and time again down there, we're not gonna have a head shop, we're not gonna have a selling knickknacks, you know, it's not viable for us. So, retail is not the office, mixed use, residential upstairs, ability to have food and drink is essentially the direction that we would like to go with that.
Okay.
But I also know that,
So should we take it at what this says, where you're gonna be setting up 2 suites as a restaurant and 1 is professional, like office type building?
What's that?
But
I mean, it's a mixed use building, so are you asking me to pick a direction?
I'm not asking you to pick a direction. I'm just saying for the scope of this application, right now, your intent is 2 restaurant suites and a professional. And then that's really the big thing is parking, and then obviously septic from a grease, you know, at what's going in. And then I guess in this case, going out of the
Yeah,
building.
regardless of use, there will need to be proper parking and septic, so
Right.
yes.
But I would agree with you. I mean, we want to go all out as much as we can as far as broad a calculation goes.
Yep.
What to go in there. So I'd go with that. I mean, it's Chris's call on what actually goes in there and all. We'd like to get a broad,
And I'm not trying to pigeonhole him one way or another. Absolutely not. I
Don't have a business to propose to you right now.
exactly, yeah. You know, tell me exactly what restaurant you're getting. No, not exactly. No, and I don't expect you to know. It's so early on in this. But if it's generally going to be, you know, a restaurant, then we can accept that, you know, accept it at face value at the time of the application. And that's how many, you know, spots. That's fine. Yeah, I'm good with that.
sorry about the confusion.
No, it's-
Everything, but, I was under the impression if you get food and beverage, that would kind of take care of what you had to have. We didn't plan on having a full course, seems so, you're in the business. You know that specific detail of that law, how to operate and something like that. So, I'm not saying, we don't necessarily have to know that either. The tenant that might open up that kind of business would need that. So we appreciate that feedback from it. We want to have this application as inclusive as possible for, say, restaurant capability.
Yeah.
So we don't have to come back.
Agreed.
Paul?
Yes. In this information you gave us, you listed that Kieserfeld Mills Works will be helping you with the parking situation.
Yes.
Okay. If you sold the building, the Stanley building, what happens with that parking agreement?
That would transfer.
It transfers to the new owner somehow? Okay, so it's
So we have, not to get too far down range, but we have future plans. And so,
yeah, it's not really about future plans, it's about legality of
Yeah.
if you sell the building, where the parking spaces go. Do they go with the building or not, where they're owned by Kieserfeld Mills Works, right? That's the agreement.
That would be my assumption that would be
They would-
the owner's problem. They would have to come to you and figure out where their parking situation is gonna be.
Okay, so that lease would just stick with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the septic situation works, that's why the parking situation works, is because both buildings are on, you know,
Right.
attached campuses.
Yeah, and the Millworks has that authorization to use, and you guys do for the joint septic. Since you just brought up septic, at what point are you supposed to have a design and submit it for an actual septic system? Because Kieserfeld Mills Works has to worry about their own thing, and you have to worry about your own thing moving forward, even though you're temporarily using that joint. Is there something in our ordinance that has a time limit of that? Or can they just run and operate indefinitely?
Well, it's based on
Yeah, Saco River,
main subwater, everything for a septic for the town relies on the main subsurface wastewater laws.
Okay, so they go and put a restaurant in there. They start utilizing the current septic system, which is a joint septic system that needs to be dumped every so often, pumped out. Does the town require a certain time frame to have the actual septic system for that particular building done?
through Saco River Corridor, they've given us two years.
Okay, all right. So they said you have within 2 years to get that septic design submitted and, oh, great, I just didn't see that anywhere.
Or July, we got a unanimous approval from Saco River for the 2-year period. They understand that situation down there pretty well.
I didn't see that.
And
Go on.
It's not.
they know that it's gonna take us a few months to dig the perk tests, the different things, the steps you have to take to analyze the soil, get the engineer, it has to be an engineer, not just a site plan. Like say Ken Gardner, he can't do this. Because it has to be an engineered system, so they cannot help us out. So he's referred us to an outfit that we've worked with before. So we're gonna go with them, most likely, and get these plans developed over the next couple of months so that it is all completed, our application with Augusta, Saco River Corridor, you guys, whoever, Jesse Winters, and so that we can initiate the installation of that new full-blown septic system for the Stanley Building in April.
So for the sake of this application, the septic plan is that it's to utilize the holding tank that exists on Millworks property until a septic can be approved and installed for Stanley Building in that little triangle there.
Within 2 years of,
Yes.
according to Saco River.
Yeah, that's what Saco River's given us for design and installation.
Yep.
And so they had to go through the process with Jesse Winters.
Yep.
To help approve that from the town, that plan from the town.
There's a plan.
It's just a unique situation there.
It is and it isn't.
Both, the Stanley Building needs the mill to be a viable business, wise,
Should adopt it.
septic wise. And it's just a shame that, it's been put in this situation over the decades and decades of time. Something should have been foreseen in the past when the mill shut down, when they redesigned the bridge. They took even more property from the Stanley Building that's been chopped at and hacked at. And in '74, Clean Water Act, thankfully came along and kept the Stanley Building from dumping raw sewage directly into the canal. So we're having to work through all the different problems and make it work for that property.
Chairman, since the Saco River has given them that date, do we need to adopt that as well? Or should we pass something to adopt that same date somewhere in 2026? We need to have a septic design submitted and moved forward on or something like
We
that?
can put that in.
We can put a condition
There you go.
on an approval
On approval. Conditions can go on.
based on, we're not beholden to that,
Okay.
Nope.
but we can add that if we want as a condition.
Because otherwise, we approve the application, we wouldn't hold them to any septic.
Unless we put
Because we have no
conditions.
date. Yeah, without conditions.
Without conditions.
Right, without conditions, correct. Without conditions, we're giving them authorization to start using it now and use it indefinitely.
Correct. So that was my understanding.
Yeah,
Question.
sure.
When I read this parking plan, I'm trying to read it broad-based, as broad as I can look at it. And you based all the spaces on professional services, which is one space for each 250 square feet. And it's got listed, to give you an idea, hairdressers, veterinarian service, doctors, lawyers. And then down below that, it's got retail and services businesses. Those could be considered services businesses in reality. Our plan, the way it's written, it kind of conflicts a little bit, or it doesn't give us enough detail in there, because I believe, it's my opinion, Mr. Chairman, that all the spaces they have listed for suit 3, professional services, would be better if we asked them to look at the square footage, one space for every 150 square feet of sales areas instead of 250, which that's on page 27, where it's at.
Which we can do, but
I just think because it's not, if we don't do it that way, we're not protecting the town and giving them a fair opinion, review by the planning board. I was just trying to think that what's fairest for the planning board and the town of Parsonsville. Because those two there, they can fall back and forth between the two of them. The way it's written, just read it. All you gotta do is look at it.
So is that the difference of a couple parking spots?
That's all. I just think we should do it that way to make sure we are giving the best position of the town and the planning board and not causing the potential developer any grave problems.
yeah, it's a difference of 4 spots.
That's all. It's not much.
Yep.
But I think it should be done that way to protect the town and saying, wait, they did a complete review. It's done proper. You know, otherwise I don't think we're treating the town fairly, our citizens or the developer.
So first off, what we gotta do is we gotta determine completeness of the application.
Well, in order to do that, we got to have an answer for this here too. Are we going to look at it 100 at those spaces as they presented or spaces that we think it should be?
Well, but this is the parking plan, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna, this document is not gonna change outside of that little box where it says professional 6 and change it to retail 10. But they don't have them
They don't have.
denoted
No, they don't.
in terms of, which building it goes to. So I don't think making that change would impact this document at all, right?
I believe it does, but that's my.
This document is to provide visual evidence that there's more than enough parking, and whatever number you guys see fit will be set aside for the Stanley. Because we anticipated this happening where the number would change, and it just did. So there's more than enough parking spots there, so just let us know what you guys think, and we can designate those Stanley parking spots. Unless you guys have other advice as far as how to attack that.
That'd go to 26 spaces. That's what it'd go to.
Correct.
Total of 26.
But they're more than that.
Do you know the number of spots needed for the mill property?
Well,
Overall, full capacity, no.
Okay.
That's in the planning. We do have 44 spaces set aside in the basement, the ground level of the mill. Those are for tenants of the mill, so that gives you an idea of what we have planned, rough plan for future parking under.
Where it goes in right there.
So
Also-
we didn't include any of that.
Right.
if you read down in the notes on the bottom of page 27, read note number 4. Note number 4 gives the planning board some flexibility.
You said 44 inside the mill?
Yeah. That's its plan as of right now.
I don't see a problem with the parking. We got plenty of parking. That's just me. I says, I don't see a problem with the parking.
What's that? Yeah.
Says me.
So they're showing 161 spaces, not counting the town lot.
Should be ample.
on this, on the drawing that we received today.
Yeah, the drawing is just for,
Right.
just to show plenty for this down.
Yeah.
We didn't include anything in the one or projected.
Like you said, it's just to give us an idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I don't know, the mill is functional, right?
People work there?
Oh, it doesn't, okay.
No, no?
Oh, the mill behind the Stanley Building, where that parking is coming from, right? The,
Okay.
For storage, yeah.
Yeah, Paul, the only ones that work there are the hydro plant people,
okay, over there, yeah,
hydro plant,
yep,
and then I'm down there daily. I
gotcha,
just walk, I slip out, go down through the barn or down the hill
okay,
from my apartment to the mill.
okay, I
So
thought,
I'm there all the time.
gotcha.
So I think the only piece of concern from a completeness standpoint at this point that I'm seeing for my sake is the notice of sale. So the property is going up for public auction at 10 a.m. on November 10th. Yeah, 10 a.m. November 10th, 2023 at 14 Federal Road is when the public auction is. And it looks like that's when they're selling the property.
Providing there's no bigger bidders than you guys, it should be kind of finalized for you guys that day? Is that what we're to read into this?
Contract, so, yeah, stuff will come out.
Like you
So
said-
it's,
Like you said, the auction's just a formality.
it's a, yes, it is a formality. And it's in, so the previous owner signed over the title through the deed in lieu with attached documentation, notarized, witnessed, written up by the attorney for the mortgage company. And so it was a done deal. So then after that, well, then we negotiated our deal with the title holder, which is a mortgage company. So that was executed. And then he turns around and says, well,
Right.
no, I take that back. And we could go through and charge him with,
Various
Whatever.
times, yeah, litigations.
but the most expedient thing is just to let the mortgage company,
Right.
so they weighed their options. They said, they'll just get a judicial
Right.
foreclosure on the deal.
But I think what Aaron's saying is if we kind of hold off on saying this is complete till it's actually yours on that, that after the sale, then we could probably more effectively say we agree with saying that the thing's complete. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think that'll obviously that'll help. I think, I want to make sure that I'm understanding. So you completed a deed in lieu. The original mortgagor was told that was not valid.
No, they took.
I'm not saying it's not, no, I'm saying that the owner, not the mortgagor, said that they didn't want to do the deed in lieu. Or that
He recanted.
they pulled it, they pulled out of it after signing it. And so they're saying rather than go through the process of fighting that in court, they're gonna go through a regular foreclosure and they're gonna sell this. And so they're obviously running the risk of somebody outbidding you. And then at that point, now you're having to sue them.
The simple answer is yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the ambiguity of the ownership right now,
Al is the.
I hope you get it.
Yeah.
Because it'll make, a month from now, it's certainly a hell of a lot easier, but.
We didn't anticipate it. You can't make
No.
stuff up.
Well, honestly, this will be better for you because it brings everything to a close.
It will be.
at that date.
So Aaron, do you apply a condition or do you just table it?
Well, I think I mean, and we can certainly discuss, but I think what it does is it brings into challenge on the application, the right title or interest. I mean, obviously they have interest. It's, I think it adds a wrinkle that, I mean, then, you know,
But like Jeff brought up, you know, I'm saying, Jeff brought up the fact that since we are not the actual title holder yet, we had to have it signed, so we ran it by the mortgage holder, and he says, yeah, no problem. So he signed it. So that gives us the right title and interest on both parts. We have equitable title, and then the mortgage company has the actual title.
right, but
They signed.
they're sending that title to public auction on November 10th. So
I know.
trust me, I deal with mortgage risk every single day. So I 100% understand the situation.
Table it till
It's just,
it goes through.
yeah, I mean,
So you're basically trying to determine if there's proper interest with that being a variable?
it's one of those things where even if somebody outbids you, you still have proper interest, right? Because you have your deed in lieu signed, and obviously then that now, you know, your previous issue becomes this new issue, right?
But then the auction winner also would have to get litigation going as well, right?
Well, then what would happen is they would then go towards the mortgagor saying you had a contract signed for a deed in lieu. Again, assuming that somebody outbids them
Unlikely.
in this, you know, situation, they would then have to take the mortgagor to court saying, we have the signed contract, you know, you went about it, you did the sale, you know, the sale was done in bad faith, blah, 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 go down that process. And then now the person that would have outbid them in this scenario would then be able to go after them go after the mortgagor also, saying that, you know, it went to public auction, I have rights, and so now then they have to fight it out. of
That's
court.
messy.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully November 10th, you know, there's just 2 or 3 guys standing there, and it's the 2 of you and your brother, and you guys can,
Well, our bid's already in.
right. Yeah, and so is the banks, I'm sure, depending on what they're doing.
Exactly, and it's
Have they communicated with you, like, so that you're
Oh, yeah.
above their
we're
real estate? Okay. I was gonna say, because sometimes,
very tightly coordinated.
so more often than not, when properties go to foreclosure, banks will do what's called real estate owned, where they'll actually just buy back their own property. Basically, what they say is, this is the minimal amount that we need for this property, and this is what we're gonna bid. And then any bids above that, they let the third party have the property.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
That's it, thanks.
Yep.
And Al's confident enough that's the mortgage holder,
Agreed.
to.
Yeah.
to just sign, and he's trying to help us move forward with his property, so he gladly signed for us.
And I think that Paul's right, there obviously needs to be a condition, this is an approval based off of that they get ownership of the building, because if they do not get ownership of the building, then, you know,
It's all
sometimes,
me.
Right.
so.
Yeah, it would be a condition on Keyser Falls LLC obtaining the building, right? Because that's the application,
Finalize
right?
the title of the building.
Right.
Allow me.
So I guess what we need to do then is determine completeness of the application. If it's determined to be complete, we have 60 days to approve, deny, otherwise, the application. So from a complete standpoint, do we want to just run down through the list again, make sure we have everything, or we asked them for,
We asked them for a couple things. And
we asked them for a few items in the last meeting. I lost. No preferences? As in, no one has any preferences? So the two items that we were looking for last time was around parking
and septic, I believe.
and septic.
And then you also wanted to provide this, a witness.
Right.
The e-sign document, which, yes.
Yes.
Actually,
With no other discussion, I guess I'm looking for a motion.
About the septic, we still don't have a septic plan that we asked for. That's all that I,
believe that's gonna be one of the conditions when and if we approve it, put on the, put the cat before the horse on that one. I don't know.
So the plan is to use the existing holding tank. Are you looking for more?
no, I just, whatever we asked for. And I think that's what, never mind.
Well, I thought we needed some sort of time frame on a condition with a time frame on that septic system. And then do we also need a condition to verify the lease of the parking?
Same on both properties.
These are all bills.
Approving is
These are
complete.
KFM and one is KC. So they're two different entities.
I just don't want them or their future tenants to keep having to go through this over and over again.
Say that again?
Said I just do not want them or their future tenants to keep coming here over and
Yeah.
over and over again.
We appreciate that. Yes.
So as long as we're thorough, then that no one has a recourse to come back and say we didn't, which I know is aggravating to you guys, but that's what we want to avoid. Because a lot of the possible businesses that you guys may draw into your location that would be great for that spot require planning board approval.
Totally. I mean, you guys got better things to do too.
No, that's what we're here for, but we just want to,
Well-
it may not seem it, but we do ultimately want you to succeed here.
So Saban, what I'm hearing from you is that you would approve the application upon conditions?
Yes.
But we got 60 days to do the conditions and give final approval? Or
Once we determine that the application is complete,
complete, that's
we
complete.
then have to decision the application. We can do it tonight, we can do it next meeting, we can do it in December.
Right.
Well, depending on what the date for the meeting is in December, but we have to do it within 60 days.
Right. That's where we come up with anything that we want to be on there as conditions.
Right.
A final approval.
So basically, what we need to do tonight is have a motion made on whether or not the application is complete. Again, this is not approval, this is, do we have all the information we need to make a decision tonight? Or do we have all the information that we need to make a decision, period, on the application?
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we deem the application complete.
Say a little louder, please, sir.
I make a motion, we deem the application complete with forthcoming restrictions, or not restrictions, conditions.
Conditions.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor? Unanimous? Okay, the application is complete. So now, we need to make a decision on the application itself, approval, denial, table, what we need. So from
I
She's gonna be
personally,
so mad at me if I keep hitting that thing
Yeah.
with my papers.
I personally am okay with approving it, but I don't know if we can do it right this moment. We want to make sure that the conditions we give them
Right.
set them up for success and
We
not.
need a workshop for
failure.
that.
And we need to review the conditions with the applicant as well after we confirm the conditions.
Then say we table
We
it.
want to move them forward, not backwards.
Right.
No, we don't have to do that because of conditions. We get those policies off that we need.
Okay. Well, they have to abide by.
They can abide by them. They have to have written
Table it,
documents.
no more.
So do we need a motion to table this?
If we're gonna table, that's, yep.
So I'll make a motion that we table this while we develop the
Conditions.
conditions of approval.
I'll second that.
In favor?
All in favor? Unanimous?
I should have said speedily, but.
So you just jumped one hurdle.
Okay.
Better not.
So I'm gonna get in touch
It's
with,
fast after.
with Desiree and see if that's something that we can workshop. If it is, I think
Pretty quick.
it'll be the
November?
beginning of November.
Yeah, the November meeting, right?
For the workshop,
It'll be the November workshop. We're gonna have a workshop no matter what, because we need to do LD 2003 stuff as well. We're looking at November 1st,
that'll be for a workshop, Wednesday,
November 1st,
November 1st, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock will be the workshop.
Workshop.
And then if we are, so there are certain things that you can and can't discuss in a workshop.
That's right.
And so if that is not something we are allowed to workshop, I'll have her reach out to you. And then we'll just do it in the November meeting and we'll get it all sorted out.
Okay, so you'll have Desiree let us know.
If you hear nothing, be here on the 1st. She'll reach out if you're not supposed to be here. Well, I mean, you can be here no matter what. I mean, obviously it's open to the public, but if we can't discuss your conditions, or your application in a workshop,
Why would that be?
well, so you can't do it in the pre-stages. I'm not sure if you can once you have a completed application. That's the part I need the clarification on.
Okay.
So, yeah,
believe we
Oh,
can.
I believe we can once it's a complete,
I got you.
and that's why I'm willing to say be here, but, just in case I'm wrong.
Why are you always trying to follow the law?
Well, you know,
We can't afford to get sued. We're just not.
We're poor.
Again, we just don't want you guys to develop a property and then all of a sudden we have to tell people they can't come in.
Holy, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, old business, discussion on LD 2003. So we had a workshop. We discussed several items around LD 2003. We determined that there were, I think it was 3 items. There were 3 items that we needed to vote on in a formal meeting to move forward. The first being whether or not whether or not we should file for funding from the state up to $5,000 to cover the cost of the ordinance work for LD 2003. So for those that weren't there, for LD 2003, the state has set up a fund. You can apply for up to $5,000 to use towards any ordinance work. And so that'll cover costs to have the ordinances changed. That'll cover the cost for advertising a town meeting. That'll cover cost of having the town meeting. All those are viable costs that can be paid for with that $5,000. Any money that we spend less than that, we would then have to return to the state. I certainly don't expect it to be less than that, but it's possible. So I need a motion to apply to the state for those funds, or for myself to go in front of the select board to ask them to do so. One of the two. Can't remember if it's us or you that has to do it.
I'll make a motion that we request funds from the state
Second.
through the channels that we need to go through.
All in favor? Unanimous. Second item for this was, we've engaged SMPDC in the early stages. We just need to formally say that we're going to use them to do the ordinance work. Basically, what they've entailed to me is we send them the ordinances, they send us back what edits need to be made, and then that's pretty much the gist of it. They're doing this with several hundred towns
So we need to make a motion to engage SMPC.
for that specific, for doing the ordinance work.
I'll make a motion to get the work done by SMBT or whatever it is,
SMPDC.
EDC.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Unanimous. And then the last one was around, Harvey raised concern around deadline. Because obviously this ordinance has to be in place. So that involves ordinance work, us looking at it, getting a special meeting set up with the town, having that special meeting, and then getting it approved
In the next 2 months?
in the next,
That's what.
In the next 2 months.
yeah, the next 2.5 months. And so the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development is the body that's sort of behind this bill. And so it was raised at our workshop that we should reach out to them to see if the possibility for an extension is something that we could do. And so I or Desiree can certainly put an email together to make that request. If we decide that that's what the route we want to go, my suggestion is that we do that. Worst case scenario, they say no, and we've got to tell SMPDC to hustle up.
What kind of extension date are we going to ask for, end of February?
I mean, I would certainly ask for April.
March, wow.
Yeah. I mean, again, worst case scenario, they say no, you ask for April, they could say February, but I think if we ask for April, that gives us enough wiggle room that we should be able to get it done by then.
I'd go for 6 months if we can.
That's about 6 months.
Yeah, April is 6 months.
April will be 6 months from now,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
November, December, yeah. All right, so
I mean, 6 months from the date.
6 months, so you're thinking to June 1?
Yeah.
June 1? Yeah, I mean, we're not talking, again, worst case scenario, they say no or come back with a different date, right?
That's right.
I need a motion to have myself or Desiree reach out to oh my God, what was that long name? Department of Economic and Community Development for an extension.
I'll make a motion for Aaron or Desiree to make a preliminary reach out to the Maine Department of Economic and
In development.
Community Development.
Community Development. Sorry, my brain shut off halfway through that
All right,
sentence.
I second it.
All in favor? There we go. All right.
Tongue tied, just trying to.
So that was it for LD 2003, unless you guys had anything else that you want to discuss around LD 2003. Beautiful. New business, pre-application meeting, Michael and Cynthia Hasty, map RO8, lot 003A and 003B. How are you?
Good evening, we're well.
Welcome back.
Yeah, here we are again. I apologize.
You're
Can you
fine.
just speak your names for the recording where Desiree's not here?
Cynthia and Michael Hasty, last name is Hasty. We want to thank you for taking time out of your meeting tonight to help us understand and to move forward with the issue that we have at hand. You did receive a survey. Now, I do have extras if anybody would like one. And I also sent a correspondence between our surveyor who did the survey map as to, apparently erroneously, he thought that the division that took place in 2019 between Mike and his brother Steve did not count because it was within the family. And so he went aboard certifying the survey. We put it on the market. Both lots were under contract within a couple of days.
Yep.
The first lot, the almost 4 acre lot, was a cash buy, and it never got brought up that it might be in violation. So then we went aboard the closing on the second lot, and the attorney flagged it and said, whoa, this is a subdivision. And we said, no, it's not. And so there seems to be a difference of opinion. And I did review the ordinance, and it does say that if Mike kept it one lot for himself, then it would not count, which is not what happened. However, I do also have a letter from the attorney who did the original subdivision between Mike and Steve, and it shows the date that it was actually divided, which was January of 2019, excuse me.
Yes.
So in January of 2024, it would have been 5 years, which this meeting would not be necessary. But unfortunately, one lot sold, I think it was June or July, and then the other lot, we still have, it's in our possession. So we really don't want to do a subdivision. It's a lot of work on you, it's a lot of work on us. And we are perfectly willing to hold off until January of 2024, excuse me, to actually transfer the property to a new owner, whether it's these people who are willing to wait, or if they're not, someone else.
Yep.
But what are your thoughts in accordance with, would you like the letter from the attorney showing the date of the
You're
original?
fine. I've done a lot of research on it for you. It was tricky to figure out all of the different properties there. They had quite a bunch of plots along that road.
Yes.
But I was able to, luckily these two had unique enough descriptions that I was able to get to them. So board for, so 92618, lot 3, which is current 3 and 3A, if everyone can see on their map that Desiree gave us.
She didn't give us one.
You didn't get one, just me.
I have one.
You got one.
Survey map, he's talking about the,
Tax map. Yeah. So 3 here, I'm fully aware of what everything's going on. So 3 and 3A were one lot, as of 9/26/18. It went from the estate, to Michael and his brother, Stephen.
Yep.
In January, so 4 or 5 months later, 3A was created when Stephen quitclaimed that portion of the property over to Michael. So he gave his interest. So it went from being in both their interests to that southern part being in the interest of just Michael.
Okay,
So that created the lot, which you're allowed to do because it's a blood split,
family, yeah.
family split. And then a week later, the northern lot 3, so January 29th, lot 3 was quitclaimed to Michael from his brother Stephen. So Stephen basically released his responsibility or his claim to both properties in January of 2019.
Also family.
In end of March of 19, lot 3, so that northern lot again, that was quitclaimed from Michael over to Daniel Flint, which, again, normal transaction, but of course Daniel Flint owns the triangle there in the corner of Mudgett and Elm right there. I can't remember what the lot number is.
Gonna butter anyway.
Lot 1. Yeah, so he's in a butter.
one little technicality though, however.
First cousin
Yeah.
also.
Just to get lost in the details. Mike got the southern portion. Steve retained the northern portion. And it was a transfer between Steve and Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve and Dan did a property swap for another lot on Elm Street.
It's not how the deeds read. That may have been how it happened in reality. In the deeds, that was how it happened. Yeah. Yeah. So in the deeds, so lot 3 is owned by Dan, and I think it's now owned even by somebody else.
And I think it's still by Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still got it? Okay. And then, and so that split happened. And so what they're looking to do is now split 3A. So that southern lot now they want to split that lot into 2.
3A, that big one?
The southern of the 2. So there's 3,
Directly on Mudgett Road,
yeah.
with frontage on Mudgett.
And so because 3A was divided as of January 2019, January 22nd, 2019 is the legal day of that divide. If they are to divide it again within 5 years,
January 24.
that would then create a subdivision where that original lot would be considered part for the subdivision. So in our book, it says the division accomplished, where's the part? If real estate exempt under this paragraph by a gift to a person related to the donor by blood, marriage, or adoption is transferred within 5 years to another person not related to the donor of the exempt, then the previously exempt division creates a lot or lots for the purposes of this definition. So for a subdivision, it to be considered a lot for a subdivision purposes, lot 3 is not considered a lot for subdivision purposes unless one of the lots is then divided within 5 years. So their options are, they go through a subdivision application for lot 3A to become 2, or they wait until January 23rd of 2024, and they have held the property for 5 years at that point, and it makes the subdivision
They can sub.
moot.
they can
And they
subdivide.
would be able to divide the lot through the normal process.
Okay.
And we're perfectly happy to do that. We just don't want there to be any consequences because we did sell one lot. So I don't want there to be consequences for that person who bought that lot not being able to build on it because it's in violation. Was one of my concerns was, will there be residual,
No.
So you have already sold one of the 2 lots.
yes.
Which lot?
The smaller lot, the 3.8
Yeah.
acre lot, that has transferred to a new owner because we.
The whole lot has,
No, just the small, the 3.86.
Yeah.
The 8 point whatever is still ours, will remain ours until
you subdivided.
said date.
The date
So
of
we
that
could.
sale.
So I know it's a little caveat in there that is there a way to avoid doing the subdivision process? Because by the time we get through it, it will actually be into next year
Right.
anyway. I don't know.
What was the date of the last sale that just happened?
26 acres.
I don't have that with me, but I think it was June or July
No, that's it.
this year.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
a,
the closing attorneys.
that's a wrench.
And we didn't know prior to that, we had a surveyor who was, paid them
This
to
is
know,
main access.
and he was, oh yeah, it's good.
Right away
There's
somehow.
an access.
Obviously it wasn't.
Right, but it's 3A right here, right?
I think that-
Yeah, I mean, at this point, right, because you have divided
Because
it.
there's no other way to
Yeah,
access
so-
over here to a road, so they have to come down.
Puts the 5-year thing back
I'm
in.
surprised that they let that go through.
Lot 4, right? Divide it this way, you have to divide.
Right, so you would need to do a subdivision application.
We do,
Yeah. Because,
retroactively.
I mean, it's obviously part of the record, right? That it's been sold. I mean, obviously, we'll still review it same, go through the same process. You know, you've got all the survey and everything done, so you're ahead of the game at that, you know, with that standpoint. So, you know, we'll certainly review it and yeah, I mean, we'll have to have that. Yeah.
It's never simple. I'm
No, it's, no, it is. It's,
sorry. I mean, had we known, we certainly would not have
yeah.
done that. I mean, we were.
No, good on you for coming in, right? I mean, you could have simply let this happen and it would have been an interesting,
And even.
Interesting.
When there was a problem.
who would have gotten the tax bill, I wonder?
We just paid the tax.
There you go.
The tax bill. Yeah, on the
Yeah.
8-acre piece.
Yeah. Yeah, so send in, you have to do the subdivision application. It is a little bit different, a little more involved. But again, you have some of the information already that we need. And so, get that together. And then we can decide on it. If you can get it to us, I'm assuming submission, when's November meeting?
Sometime.
Ooh, November is the 15th, so I think she would need it, is it 10 days before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So it's just the application.
it's a Sunday, so she'd need it by like the 3rd.
The other paperwork,
What's that?
because you have the survey and the other paperwork, is it just the application that's needed?
Go through it?
Fees paid? I'm sorry?
I don't know if the fee is paid, did you?
No, we did not pay.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
I just
so,
didn't know where we needed to land.
gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, so you'll go through the process like you're doing a regular subdivision application. I would include the survey and everything in there, just, I'd rather have it twice than,
Just go through the list
It get lost
with
in
the
the
application.
it'll have everything in there. Reach out if you've got any questions. And then Desiree is going to grab the minutes off this recording, so. But yeah, so if you can get everything to her by November 3rd, we can get you on the agenda and yeah, as long as we have everything, we'll be able to do that. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Apology for being in this
Yes.
situation.
Not at all.
Again,
No?
Hopefully somebody was supposed to know that it wasn't a problem.
It's a,
You didn't hide from it, you came over, you know?
Yeah.
it's a very unique situation because it involves both a division,
That's about all we
a
get.
division by family and then a division to a neighbor. And so
the neighbor is actually family.
The
Dan
neighbor
is
is
actually
family.
double first cousins.
of course, yeah,
My father's sister,
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
yeah.
A brother and a sister married a sister and a brother, not.
There you go.
So they're actually very close cousins.
Oh, there. Awesome.
Oh, Dan. He's a character. We just had dinner with him.
Perfect. That's good.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
We will hopefully see you in November. Thank you again for your time.
You signed in, right?
We did.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Nope, I need.
Thank you for your guidance.
Have a good night.
Here, have a road come-
No?
That's what, road, there's no road. If they split it here, this is one they're gonna split. There's no road to get into it, that's.
No, it's not splitting, it's splitting vertically.
Yeah, it's gotta go
Yeah.
road
They need some sort of right of way or something.
Here and a lot there.
No, it's splitting.
He said it's gonna be split
So
vertically.
they'll both have a spot on the bottom, they'll both have a spot on the
Budget
budget.
road.
Both have road frontage.
They'll have to be away from that, right?
Yeah, they'll have to come right through here somehow.
It's a mess. And the deeds,
Is that a well they have there?
Okay.
There's a well over here, yeah.
okay.
Public questions.
Number 6, open to public questions. My public.
No question, but if I can help Desiree in any way with your SMPDC application for the grant money, I'll
Yep,
do that. I'll reach out to her and let her know.
appreciate
And
that.
I'll approach
Cool.
the select board if that's who we have to.
She might not know much about it, so
Okay.
reach out to me.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll make sure. I think there's just, in my email, I think there's a code that I need that we may or may not have, that the town may or not have,
Okay.
that needs to go on the request. And I think that's the only piece that I don't have. So I think I should be good to get everything else. So I'll reach out to you.
sure.
I'll shoot you an email.
You got my email from,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd consider possibly having support in case this does not go through, which I don't think it will be a problem, but from the town, to be able to support the SMPDC costs, general funds or whatever, or would
From
have
our
to,
reserve account.
yeah, would have to put it on the special town meeting, which has been requested too. Fairly soon. But we
Yeah, I
have
mean,
problems.
I don't know, I mean, given what we pay Reagan, I'm assuming that the rates are similar, so for comp plan, I would be very surprised to see us run through $5,000 for SMPDC for this task.
Well, I'm
It's
just,
possible.
I'm just saying,
But-
if there's an overrun or overlap or,
Oh,
you know,
I know how it works. They know the budget.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Any other public questions? Nothing.
Wow.
I just want to step back for a minute, because I totally appreciate, Zaben, what you said about how they present what they're gonna do. And it's just always, I always feel like there's just a little bit of a.
Hold out.
Hidden agenda.
So, no question, just,
And I can't speak.
why, Jeff? Because you know too much?
He'd have to kill us.
I could just say, watch the meeting from the last time. I'm hearing two different stories.
Well, that's.
Well, that's kind of what Saban was bringing up.
But I don't want to split hairs.
Right. I hear you.
I didn't win any friends with that question, let's put it that way.
No.
All right, next item of business, we need to schedule a workshop for Wednesday, November 1st, 2023.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor of having a workshop Wednesday, November 1st, 6 PM here? Unanimous.
Cool.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Last second.
All in favor? So moved. Thank you, everybody.
Arm aerobics.
Class. Reminder that CPR class will be held on November 6th at 1 PM. Let Debbie know if anyone's interested.
I emailed Debbie about that.
Wrong date.
I emailed back and never heard anybody.
Yeah, I saw your
Oh,
email.
really?
Yeah, from anybody.
Yeah.
I have November the 9th.
Oh, maybe she flipped it in her head.
Yep. November the 9th. is
November the
Thursday.
9th at 1 PM.
Okay.
So I'm revoking my interest because I can't.
Because they can't make it.
Take that class if you don't need it, because you never know who you'll
Well, that's.
I buy-
But I have.
punch us in a ditch.
I was at
Field?
the CMP and Pine Tree Power thing and was first responder to somebody who collapsed. So you're right, you never know.
Yeah, last month I found one right past the post office. She was, apparently guys in pickup trucks were driving down the road and forced her off the road on her bicycle. She's in her 60s, she was unconscious. Oh yeah, I had to go to work and like her, get her going and call 911 there. That was a long 30 or 40 minutes. She spasmed a few times like I was gonna lose her.
And can
Great, you were there.
Did you stop that?
I did, I hit end live video.
Yeah, it was probably pretty good.
Yeah.
I saw her. I mean, she was just in the ditch. I saw other cars pass her. Wow.
Yeah.
I'll check.
Right time, right place.
Is that a fixed date on that, Jen, for the CPR?
Yeah.
Probably.
That shows we're still alive.
Several times.
Oh, has it? Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
and it could change.
And, yeah,
Try 3 times again.
Yeah.